Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley, and I am so happy. I'm happy. First of all, God gave me a chance to wake up today. Secondly, I tell you, when you surround yourself with great people, when you have purpose, when you want to bring joy and happiness in others' lives, it all starts from the top. It all starts from leadership. It all starts from leading from the heart, being the person that you are every day, and just encouraging folks and just you know helping them out. Let them lean on the shoulder if they need to. It's all of those type of things. I think it's part of leadership, guidance, and also bringing people together. So we got an absolutely fantastic guest. Michelle. I'm not going to steal your thunder. I already know. We got an absolutely fantastic guest coming your way that's going to talk about a lot of these things. And I tell you, I'm excited to have him on the show. Dr. Michelle Cooley, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I am excited to have this guest on the show as well. Read his bio, just looked at a couple of items regarding him. And, leadership is one of the most important things to, not only command respect, but also to encourage and also to motivate people. But this gentleman today, besides his distinguished career, he's going to kind of go over a couple of items, which he also addressed in his book as an author. So we're excited to meet with him and talk with him. And well, let us go. So the title of today's show is called Leading from Your Heart Without a Title. And we're having a sit-down discussion with retired Rear Admiral Mike Manazir. And he's going to be discussing the most effective leaders. What do they lead with? And an example is empathy, passion, and strong communication skills. He's going to discuss how the best leaders lead without the benefit of their title and how you can connect with those as a good human. You will earn high-powered performance, and how trust is the foundation of strong teams. Retired Rear Admiral Michael Manazir served in the United States Navy for 36 years, retiring in July 2017. He's currently a vice president with the Boeing Company, headquartered in Washington, D.C. In the United States Navy, Mike was trained as a naval aviator and ship captain, flying 3,750 hours in the F-14 Tomcat and F-18 Super Hornet. He has 1,240 arrested landings on different aircraft carriers with 15 overseas deployments. Mike is a graduate of Top Gun. During ever-increasing leadership responsibilities, leading 350 people to more than 10,000, Mike commanded a Navy fighter squadron, a supply ship, the aircraft carrier USS Nimitz, and Carrier Strike Group 8, embarked in USS Dwight D. Eisenhower. In his spare time, he's a best-selling author, How to Lead with Win, 33 Powerful Stories of Leadership and Learning, Mike's Maxims, a companion to Lead to Win book, as well as his 2 short ebooks about faith and trust. We can talk so much and more about this guest, but we're going to bring him on the show. Please welcome retired Rear Admiral Mike Manzer.
Hi, you guys. Oh my gosh. You know what? I figured out I only talk to happy people. It must be because even your, and I always tell people, Michelle, what a wonderful bio. I always tell people I want to meet the person in that bio, and we'll talk more about what it means to go through a life of opportunity. But your JC, your intro video caught me. The strife you see, it catches your emotions, and then the happy faces and the gratitude and the love and the brotherhood and a father and a son and the smiles and the happiness. I mean, that's what it's all about is finding those things to be grateful in life about. So I'm really grateful to be here with you and Michelle. You guys are great. You just make me laugh.
Admiral Mike, we are so happy to have you on the show. And just like what you just mentioned right now, happiness, just finding the positive, finding good in even negative situations. And just being able to weather the storm, because it's not always going to be the way it might appear to be. And and a lot of things that we read about you, I went and did my due diligence, and I know we crossed paths somewhere, and we'll talk about that one later. But welcome to the show. Mike, can you tell our viewers and listeners a little bit about you? First section always is the intro session where we get a chance to know about a person, and then we go deep into what this person is doing. So can you tell our viewers and listeners a little bit about you, where you grew up, what make you tick?
Yeah, thanks, JC. I'm so excited to be here. And, Michelle kind of went through a list of things that that I accomplished, that I got to do, the opportunities I had to lead in my Navy career. And my life started as a United States Marine Corps brat. My father was a Marine, moved around a lot of places. I went to 4 different high schools. When I was in the 8th grade in my sort of down in South Carolina, Dad took us to a Naval Academy football game. And when I saw the midshipmen march on, it was an away game with Georgia Tech. When I saw the midshipmen march on, I had this blast of, that's me. That's what I want to do. That right there. I want to go to the Naval Academy. Now, my dad went to the Naval Academy and I heard stories about it, but up until that point where I saw what I wanted to do, that became my North Star. And what makes me tick, and I'll talk about going through life here and maybe in our conversation, is there's 3 different themes for a successful life. And it doesn't matter what you do. And it doesn't matter what industry you're in, what company you're in, military or civilian. And that the first theme is you have a North Star, something driving you. The second theme is failure. You're willing to risk enough to get to that North Star every day that you're going to fall, skin your knee, get up and hurt. Now, of course, everybody doesn't get up in the morning and go, I'm going to fail today. Of course not. But your willingness to risk, to get over that wall, to get over that obstacle. And that obstacle makes us stronger. And so the third theme is resilience. So a North Star, failure, the willingness to fail because you're risking everything for your North Star, and the resilience that comes from failure. We learn our best from failing. If we don't fail, 2 things happen. 1, we don't learn, and 2, we don't get resilient, and we don't figure out. And in my life, and it takes a long time to figure that out. In my life now, when I look around the backside of a failure, like look at that and go, man, I now go, that's why that happened. Or something's going to happen here. And I don't know what it is yet, but that's why that happened. Wasn't supposed to, and maybe even came out of the blue, wouldn't go from there. So those 3 things. And as I went through the Navy and I had the opportunity to go to the Naval Academy and drive myself to accomplish that appointment in the Naval Academy, drive myself through 4 years so I could go fly. Then I wanted to go fly fighters, and I wanted to fly fighters in the Navy off of aircraft carriers. And then I wanted to fly Tomcats through flight school, and I got to do that. And I went, then I said, I'm going to work my way through a career. I'll be a commanding officer. And I didn't want to go nuclear power. I didn't want to go to Navy nuclear power. So a mentor, not the huggy, touchy-feely kind of mentor, but the one that says it kicks you through the door and says, you're going to go do that because I see it in you. And I got to command Nimitz after a decade of training and competition. I realized, JC, I've been competing my entire life. And I've just gone after what it is that I've wanted as that North Star and competed against things and myself. I have a whole bunch of failure. If you take those things that Michelle listed and go, wow, look at that. Are you kidding? The path to get there. Oh my gosh. Backwards, right, left, here. And then the last thing I'll tell the viewers makes me tick. Okay. So you can call me an admiral. You can call me captain. You can call me skipper, Naval Academy graduate. My secret to leadership is from right here. I connect with the people that I lead, no matter how senior I am or how junior they are in relation to me. And I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, I came over across the parking lot from the Pentagon, which is over my left shoulder, over to the Boeing company, and leading people is exactly the same in the United States Navy as it is in the corporate world. Leading people means caring about them and getting to the point where you don't want to disappoint them and they don't want to disappoint you. So I look for ways to connect with people because you know what? I got an ulterior motive. I want high performance. I want to win. If I connect with you, you're going to go with me hard on the way to win, and it's going to be positive. And we're going to support each other. And it's just like a team effort in any of those high-performing teams you see.
Wow. Hey, Mike, you just put a lot into that to unpack. Would you say that a leader is born to be a leader, or a leader have to learn to lead?
I love you asked this question. It's easy. Leaders are not born. Leaders are made. It's easy. You are born with certain characteristics. It is false that there are born leaders out there. The effective leader is somebody who can influence a group of people or even one other person with their personality traits. their innate, what they were born with, and then what the environment brings them up into. So the beginning of my book, I talk about my emotional drivers, and key there is my mom and my dad. My dad was a Marine. I was never good enough. He didn't even say he was proud of me until I was the captain of a ship at 42, 44 years old. I'm not kidding. My mom thought I was the best thing that ever hit the earth. And so if I listened to my mom, my head would be this big. And if I listened to my dad, I would not be able to get out of bed in the morning because I'd have been too crushed. And so I have this weird sense, combination of humility and ego. And my emotional drivers were to prove to my dad I was good enough. And of course, my mom is propelling me anyway. And so I look to those things, and I grew. I tell you what, through all of those leadership opportunities, starting from when I entered the Naval Academy, which is where I learned to follow, and then through those opportunities from small teams all the way to a strike group of 10,000 people, I learned the entire time, and I made mistakes. I'm still learning how to lead, JC. So you learn to lead as you grow up, and the people that lead you and the people that follow you and that are you're influenced by and who you influence, that is what guides you in your leadership journey. And so totally born, totally made, not born.
Hold that thought, Mike. We have to take a station break. Whichever platform that you're watching, whether you're watching E360 television, Transfer TV, YouTube, LinkedIn, or over 55 live streaming networks, if you want to be part of this great conversation that we have, all you have to do is just go to the platform that you're watching us on and ask this Admiral any question that you might have. I promise you he'll get you an answer. It's your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break.
I never wanna leave. Yeah, I'm right where I wanna be. It's something you and me, and I can't get rid of this feeling.
Really get a chance to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you truly know who you are, love who you are. Love who you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, or hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, there is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create, collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? In everything that you do.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley. And just like I said, as you heard from the first segment, this is getting ready to get even more exciting than the first segment, because we got an opportunity to get a chance to know Admiral Mike a little bit. And now we're getting ready to understand all the different things that he's doing. For as being an exec at the Boeing, writing books, great family man, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if you want to be part of this conversation, all you have to do is just go to the platform, whichever that is, Ask any question that you might have, and I promise you we'll get you an answer. Admiral Mike, what was it like, transitioning from the military to the civilian world, where in the military, I have supported so many admirals, so I know how you guys are transitioning to something that you were not familiar with. You might have been familiar with it through your leadership and the service, but we all have that little doubt. Can I be successful the same way that I am now? Is it time for me to do this? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, thanks, JC. And it's wonderful how much you support veterans, and I very much appreciate that. Being one myself, the decision to transition out of the military is one that is internal to every single military person. And I have counseled a lot of people on when to get out of the military, or whether to get out of the military if they experience some kind of a setback, like they don't get selected for something. And I always tell them, talk to your family, do what's right in your heart. Because even if you go, I'm doing this for my family, maybe my wife says, you're not deploying anymore. If I'm not comfortable with that decision to transition, it's going to eat at me for everything that I do, shoulda, woulda, coulda. So, have that discussion and realize that when you're in the United States military, or any business at all that takes you away from home, and I'll tell you, ladies and gentlemen, no such thing as work-life balance when there's something like that. You are either there or you're not. And so you have to create a life, a supportive life. I've been with the same woman for 42 years. I've been deployed 15 times, gone half our marriage. That's probably why I'm still married. But being able to come back in, a parachute back into the family and be a supportive member rather than come in and go, you know what, I got it now. And you have that teamwork. So that's the military side. And oftentimes family separation does drive a decision to, get out of the military. I found in my experience, first of all, I entered the Naval Academy at 17 years old, JC, and I retired from the Navy 40 years later after a 36-year career, and I had only done one thing in my entire life after high school graduation. So it was terrifying to get out of that comfort level. Even my wife, Kelly, said, we get a paycheck every 2 weeks now. Like, are we going to get paid the same? I mean, where's the money come from? All those tactical answers about, and even though by that time, as an admiral with 36 years of experience, the knowledgeable people on this, listening to the show are going to say, well, you get like 97 cents on the dollar when you retire. And so people go, oh my gosh, I'm not going to have an income. And actually you do, it's just a little bit less. So you don't want to go out and buy the big house right away until you figure out what you're going to go do. So that's terrifying. And then am I going to fit? And it's all about fit. When I joined the Boeing company, they were wonderful. I knew them. The culture was good. And I will tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I had several choices to join companies, and it was culture that brought me here. The Boeing set of values aligned with mine. And they still do. And I'm still here. And so the thing that I had to learn, though, was, and I'll tell you I had to learn this, and I'll also tell you why it's a fallacy. And what I had to learn is I'm not in the military anymore, and I'm not an admiral anymore. I'm Mike. My call sign's Nasty. It has been for 30 years in an airplane. And some people call me Nasty. They like that, kind of thing. The intimacy of that call sign. I'm used to it. It's not weird. Some people hear that word and they go, whoa. But I'm now not wearing an admiral uniform. I don't have the apparent trappings of authority. And so you can't walk in the room and go, well, boom, I'm an admiral and this has to happen. Now, the fallacy I will tell everybody about is, well, you're in the military. That's easy. You just order them to do stuff and they do it. That's true. You can, but you're only going to get to a certain point, and people are going to do what they're told to do, and that's it. They're not going to do any more. They're not going to risk for you. They're not going to fail for you. They're not going to try for you, and they're going to do things that keep them safe psychologically when they think what you're trying to do is going to hurt them, right? And so leading in the military effectively for high performance and winning teams is exactly the same as leading in a company, and you've got to do it with your influence and your human connection. When I got to Boeing, the material was the same that I knew, JC, because I turned from the Navy customer into talking to my replacement in the Navy over there. And then And then I'll just tell you, everybody, that because I was so used to wearing a uniform, for the first 8 months I was out, I felt like an admiral in a suit. So a suit and tie every day. I just felt like an admiral in a suit. My identity, I just felt like I was just in different clothes. It took 8 months for me to lose the feeling that I was an admiral. Now, I worked very hard on not acting like one. I very much have heard stories about flag officers, general officers, even 06s, colonels and captains coming out and expecting somebody to do their work for them. You know, the PowerPoint slides? What do you mean PowerPoint slides? I don't have to do PowerPoint slides. Can somebody give me a cup of coffee? You know, no, you don't do that. You come out and you are a helpful teammate. And I've got plenty of stories about people going, "You're an admiral? Why didn't you tell me? I would have acted differently." And no, I don't want you to act differently. It's just me. "No, it's not just you. You're an admiral." I said, "Well, you know, would you have done anything differently had you known that?" "Yeah, you're an admiral." You know, so you're not going to, that's why the title of our show today with JC, because JC and Michelle understand this, you lead through your heart. You don't lead with a title. You don't lead with an expectation of respect. You have to earn the respect and the trust. And so I came out of the Navy over here to Boeing with attempting to be one of the people that is helping rather than going, "I'm an admiral." But it took me a while to lose the feeling that I'm an admiral in a suit. And so my attitude about issues was, well, I need to think about this like I'm an admiral. It wasn't that I applied it. It just felt weird. About 8 months later, I said, okay, I'm a retired transitioned guy that used to work over there at a certain rank. And now I'm making my way here. And the only thing that we got to remember is there are two different ways to lead in the United States military. One is crisis and one is planned. And so crisis leadership, you give orders right now. I was a ship captain. I flew Tomcats and F-18s, high performance airplanes. You make a decision right now because something bad's going to happen. We'll talk about it later. Turn left now, no questions. You can do that in business, but not very often. And what a lot of people do, especially in the military, because it's too hard to get people to understand where they're trying to go, they will just lead like that. "I don't care, just do it. I know better." And you're not going to get very far. And people will start to back off. In the military, they kind of can't, but in the civilian world, they kind of can. They'll back off. You won't get support. And pretty soon there's nobody willing to go with you. It's all about influence. And so that kind of thing, if you're that type of leader who is already bent towards a type A personality, like in special forces, see snake, kill snake, snake, kill snake, boom, done. You don't do that very well. In the commercial world, tend to have sharp elbows. When you do that, you will push people aside. I have been accused of having a large weight because I have I'm like this. I have passion and energy for what I'm doing. So people have said, "Hey, Mike, you got to watch out for the large wake that you're sending out there when you go through." I mean, people do know that you're a retired admiral. So there's an expectation when you walk in. So those of you with military rank, retired now, realize there are people, and what you don't want to do is validate what they think of you. Like, he's going to be all of that. And guess what? Here he is. He's all of that. So you just want to be aware of that. And, and just use the experience to your benefit, because people do know you were in that position. So they do expect you to have some opinions about leading. And you just want to be able to do that. And the last point I'll make to you is the thing I've tried to work on for a long, long, long time as a senior executive in the Navy, as an admiral, and here as an executive, is listening and actively listening to people. So you understand what they're saying and trying to tell you, you take their input and you use it for the path forward. And I always have trouble being an effective listener. So I work on that one thing, every day. And JC, I probably took some thunder away. You probably had a question later on that says, "What's the one thing you work on?" I'll tell you right now, ladies and gentlemen, it's listening.
That was the next question. But I got another one for you. You already mentioned the title of the show, Leading from Your Heart, without a title. What would you say to senior officers transferring into the civilian world right now and they're saying, I'm listening to the admiral, but I got to have a secretary. I got to have somebody do my PowerPoints. I have to do all of these things because I am captain. I am an admiral. I am a general. How would you tell them to humble themselves? Because it's an adjustment period when they get out where depending on which job that they get, that sometimes it's just them in doing those things, and that it doesn't matter what rank you are? What was prior to coming out there? You had to adjust to the environment that you're in.
Yeah, I will tell you that this is going to be harsh. If you're the kind of officer that succeeded in any one of our military branches in the United States by using that kind of attitude, you're not a successful leader. If you were looking at the rank to justify everything you were doing, you have the wrong lens, and it becomes apparent to you when you get out in the civilian world. So you must change. It's like in learning a new skill. And you realize let's just say you're employed somewhere or you're in the military and you can't, like, I'm a fighter pilot. Okay, let's just say I'm not allowed to fly anymore. The doc says you can't see good enough or you have a medical condition, you're not allowed to fly. I got to go learn a new skill. Same thing in the civilian world. And as you come out of the military, if you've got a set of expectations, you have to look at those and say, are those expectations still going to be valid? Many times you don't get to have a secretary. I mean, you just don't. HR says, hey, sorry, Mike, your position doesn't warrant an office assistant, and sorry, you're kind of on your own. You can argue against that, and you can yell and say I ought to do that, but you're not going to get anywhere. It's like having a temper tantrum as a child, So you have to kind of figure out, those skill sets. And if you're already one of those people that thinks about how could I do this myself, and all of the great stories of leadership, you see stories of very senior leaders carrying the tray of coffee for the person carrying the coffee in, or they drop something and the CEO of the company grabs the mop and mops up the floor, and something unexpected. And one of the wonderful traits about a good person in a very high leadership position is they are not afraid to stoop, and we call it stooping in the gradient, to a lower level. Why would the CEO even help the janitor that just dropped everything? I'll tell you, I was very aware of my gradient in the U.S. Navy. And I'll tell you what, on an aircraft carrier, there is one captain, and that's a dang good life. But I'll tell you what, for 4,999 other people, that ain't as good a life as the captain. And when I was communicating with my crew, when I would talk to them on the 1MC in the middle of the day, tell them what's going on, I was energetic, passionate, and I was trying to tell them what was going on, because I was trying to reach the most homesick, sad, overworked, enlisted person way down in the bowels of the ship that didn't know why they were there, had made the wrong decision to join the Navy. And I wanted them to look up the speaker and go, why is that idiot so happy? There's something that I can at least be positive about in the day. So what I'll tell you a secret for those people that have a relatively high position, when you give your time to somebody who is positionally below you, and the farther down it is, the more powerful it is. And this is not an act. You get so much power out of that because you chose to pause for a moment and do fill in the blank, whatever the captain, the admiral, the CEO, they just don't do that. He stopped and talked to me. What do you hear from people? President Bill Clinton, and I'm not doing politics here, was widely known for making you feel like you were the only person in the room. And that's the president's most powerful man in the world, in the entire world. And people remember things like that, and you want to be approachable, and you want to have that attitude. So and I'm going to be harsh to the people that might have this, if you have the attitude that you need help and you need a staff and you need people to do things for you, and you get out in the civilian world here, until you get to be the CEO of a 155,000 person company like this one, probably going to do a lot of things for yourself that you might not have been used to in a previous life. The biggest thing is when you transition and those features change for you, you adapt to them, and you still think about what kind of a person you have when you come across, and what kind of a person you are if you're not wearing your title, if you're not leading with your title, if nobody knows who you are. I think it's vitally important to get to that joy of leading and influencing.
Hold that thought, Admiral Mike. We have to take a station break, but this is so intriguing, and I'm glad that you're sharing this with our viewers and our audience. We got a lot of people on here. Dr. Mike Manzer, thanks. Terry Spain, We got a lot of people watching. Care Bear, Carrie, so many. And I get around to mentioning a lot of you all later, but we're going to take a station break. We're going to come back with some more Admiral Mike. We're going to talk about his book. We're going to talk about a lot of other things. So if you want to be part of the conversation, just go to the platform that you're on, ask any question that you might have. I promise you, we'll get you an answer. It's your life, and we'll see you shortly after break.
I've seen a smile convey I love you. I'm proud of who you are. The one that keeps us close when we're apart. Walking from the darkness of all that we've been through. It seems that there might be a way to leave behind the loneliness we've known and live again life of
Dr. James J.C. Cooley from the United States of America, and I am here to just say, first of all, I'm so happy and honored to be honored to be in the Coffee Book 2023, Unified Brain Z and the other organizations. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this collection. Oh, that was my fault. Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. And, I was just kind of mesmerized and listening to Mike as he explained a lot of things, especially about leadership, because, just like he mentioned earlier, leaders are not born to be leaders. They learn to lead. And in most cases, you cannot be a good leader, just like you mentioned, that unless you fail, and we fall, but getting back up, understanding, learning from your mistakes, and surrounding yourself with people that you trust and that trust and believe in you. You can't surround yourself with somebody that's always down, never happy. Every time they come around you, that's painful. I mean, like, we got to learn to lead from the heart, just like the title of his book that we can really talk about. And so I'm about ready, Mike, to dive deep into your book. Can you tell our viewers and listeners what prompted you? Did you just wake up one day and say, hey, I got to tell my story? I got to, over the past 30 something years, et cetera, people need to understand the journey that I've been on and what prompted me to learn, pick certain things. I call it the two pocket theory, that you have one on your right side, one on your left, and where you see some bad things happening, you're like, oh, that's bad. You grab some of that and put it in the left side. You see good things happen. You, oh, I kind of like that. You grab some of that. And throughout your career and history as a leader, I believe when you find yourself doing things that you really don't understand, or doing things that you don't like, that you saw in the past, somebody else do it, you look in that bag. You push that to the side. Look in the other bag and pull something out that's going to help you lead, help you convey your thoughts, help you help others out. What is your thought about that, Admiral?
Well, a couple things, JC, and boy, you're handing me these. They're not even softballs; they're T-balls. I'm going to set the thing on the tee and hit it into New York from here. The first thing I want to mention, something that you started to talk about. The thing that I my personality, I tend to share more. So I'm probably more transparent, use more candor, and I probably am more vulnerable about my failures, my life. I want to talk about that for a second before we launch into the book, and that is my book title's Learn How to Lead to Win. It's a really clunky title. Learn how to lead. Well, you're going to win, right? So how are you going to lead to win? How are you going to lead people? Learn how to do that. When I was in a position of authority and leadership, either as a skipper or a ship captain or an admiral, I spent time with the people that were on the same path as me. And I remember distinctly one time when I was a striker commander, and I gathered all of the commanders and captains who had been selected for the next command. And I did this throughout my career of people that were coming up. And I had them all in a conference room. I said, okay, let me tell you some stories about where I failed. And because times are different in the 80s, I even said to people, if this had been 2010, I wouldn't be here today. There are things in my experience that I was working through the environment, but I would tell them, like I said at the very beginning, if your audience was with me, those list of things that Michelle talked about, look at all those accomplishments, the wanderings and the learning to get there. I mean, I told people how the mistakes I had made. And when they had questions about why somebody in the Navy got fired out of command, and we do that when we lose confidence in our ability to command, well, they're fearful of that because we hold the reasons why very close for privacy reasons. But I told them it's stuff that you would make up. You'd make it up yourself. You would know why. And they go, oh, they did that. Well, of course they got fired. And so I would take away the mystery of the successful leader by sharing my own trials and tribulations and my mistakes. So I encourage you. And Brene Brown writes a lot about vulnerability. And oftentimes vulnerability is viewed as the feature of a weak leader. Far from it. I'm more vulnerable than most people. And I don't think too many people accuse me of being a weak leader. And so I would think about that and the way you approach telling your stories. And if you tell people, hey, I'm all of that, that you start to lose them after a while. So Learn How to Lead to Win, my book. No, I didn't wake up one day and go, I'm going to tell my story to everybody. I think people on the show here can figure out that I'm not that type of person that says, you need to read my book because I'm all of that. Like everything else in my life, it was hand of providence, God, fate. I was at a meeting with my now business partner. His name is Ben Carroll. He's a businessman, and he's been a longtime businessman. Their company had run our investments for decades, and I never met him. And I went down to Dallas February of 2022, and I decided I was going to meet in person with the people doing our family investments, and we were meeting in person. I had never done that before, And sitting in the corner was Ben Carroll. He's the CEO of this company. He had stepped away from the company and was doing other things, and was still involved. And he had been obviously a partner with us on our journey through life. And so somehow here I told a story, and I tend to tell stories and leadership lessons. I tell stories, and I told the story. He goes, "Mike, you ought to write a book." And I go, "Ben, I have no time. I have no time to write a book." Now, in my head, when I would teach people leadership lessons, and here at Boeing, we have the opportunity to leaders teach leaders, and I would go in front of groups for years, 4 times a year or so, and even more than that. We'd be talking in front of groups, and I was struck because whenever somebody would ask a question about leadership in those forums, I not only had an answer, I had a story. I said, "Oh, let me tell you about that," and I tell them a story. And so somebody told me one time, he said, "Mike, you have this wonderful ability to tell stories." And so storytelling is how we've learned to pass on knowledge ever since, Neanderthals and, roamed the earth. So, okay. So I have a story for everything that I learned in how to lead. And they were kind of percolating up in my head. And so when Ben said, "You ought to write a book," I said, "I have no time." He goes, "I'll help you." And that fate, God-driven connection in February 2022 caused us to go together, and I told the stories and he did all the technical stuff. And when we were talking about the 33 stories in the book, I had about 40, and my wonderful editor, Sandy Wendell, who is perfect and she has an edge, she cut them down to 33. And I said, "Hey, those 7, they're good." So, on the cutting room floor are some other stories, but I had a learned lesson. So when you read the book, you'll get a great story about flying fight. I also narrated my own audiobook. So if you prefer audiobooks, it's me telling you stories. Like you and I are sitting across the lunch table or the bar or somewhere at a picnic, and I'm telling you a story about something. And then at the end of each story is a leadership lesson. And then at the end of each leadership lesson is resources. So if you don't, if you say, "Well, okay, Mike's fine, but who else wrote about this?" So Maxwell and Brene Brown and Carnegie and Covey, Speed of Trust, all those kind of things. And so we list out resources. So that's the way the book is written. And the value of the book is there are no situations in there, even though I'm a fighter pilot and I was in fighters in the 80s, there are no situations in there, nor any words in there you can't hand to your 10-year-old grandchild. The book applies to you whether you're in the military, in commercial profit, commercial nonprofit, a startup, you're a grandmother learning to lead somebody, it's your nephew or niece about to go to college. Of course, it's, "Hey, my kid wants to enter the U.S. Naval Academy. Here's a book," because it's my path through the Navy. And the stories are just from me, my emotional drivers that caused me to be the way I am, into going to the Naval Academy and then going for 36 years when I thought were the stories. And one of the biggest ones, JC, when we ran the book through our beta group, the people who kind of critiqued the book, there were 26 of them. They said, "We want to hear more about Kelly, my wife, because the partnership we had." And I started out with these stories. This is me in an airplane. This is me driving a ship. This is me learning and failing. There's a lot of failures in the book, lots of failures, lots of anger and emotional, "I'm done now. I can't get to go to my North Star." And throughout that, Kelly was there. So in the maturation of the book, I built a whole new chapter on Kelly and balance. And the chapter is called 8 Years at Sea. And people are awesome. The crowd, the people who have read it, they come back and they go, "I learned so much about Kelly. This is an awesome book." I go, "No, it's about me." But no, that's the journey. And I hope your listeners also will understand, I am not holding that book up to say, "Hey, this is how you lead." I'm just holding something here. But no, there are millions of leadership books out there. Nothing I write about is new. It is simply the way that I learned to lead through my experience. And I hope that somebody sees something in there that they might think is worth remembering, bad or good. "Well, make sure I'll never do that again," or, something like that. That's all. And I'm continuing to write and to recommend, because here's my vision and my mission. I want to make 1 million people lead like I do, from the heart, just like you're trying to do. We need that in our world. We need heartfelt leadership in our world. I'm on a mission to do that. I didn't even know I was, and I am. And so I'm continuing down that road and trying to impart what I believe is good leadership. And it's all about leading from the heart and not disappointing the people that are going with you, and influence for good, and, all of those things, JC. So that's what drives me.
Well, we got about a minute and a half before the commercial break, but you keep mentioning this North Star. For the people that don't know what you're saying, can you please explain that to them?
It's a purpose. It's a thing that drives you. It's a cliche. It's, obviously biblical history. We're following that star. We talk about in my world, in our processes and procedures, working with the Defense Department, over my shoulder, we talk about North Stars that drive our processes. What is the thing we're trying to get to? What's your vision? What's your purpose? Why you get up every morning? It could be, it changes, by the way. Mine changed, and it needs to be something that you can go after, something that's a little bit tangible. It's not, I want to be a better person. That's not a North Star. That's a character, desire or something like that. It's something that you're journeying towards, to go make a difference in the world. I'm going to go be a doctor. I'm going to do this, even though it's hard. I'm going to lift myself up of my current conditions in life, and I'm going to make it. I'm going to go there so that I can make a difference for myself, my family, and the people around me. It's that kind of thing. It's a purpose.
Oh, it's a wonderful purpose. And I'm a leadership guy as well. And I always talk about what we call the bluff, vision, understanding, and focus. I mean, you have to have vision. You have to be able to see past the tip of your nose in order to be able to explore different things. Understand it. You have to be able to understand that if you are going to be able to get to this place or achieve this, you have to understand what the ground rules and assumptions are. And you also have to understand what it's going to take, like having a plan. Focus, I always say, when I'm speaking before audience and talking about this, focus is being able to take all of those things and focus on one piece of the puzzle at one time. Because the old saying, you can't eat everything in one bite. Focus on one piece of the building block at a time. Mike, we're going to take a station break. But this is exciting. We're going to take a station break, and we're going to come back. We still got another segment with Admiral Mike. And if you want to be part of the conversation, just go to the platform. Ask any question that you might have. You still got time. It's your life. And I'll see you shortly after the break.
Noah Dingley here, producer of The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And the new audio version of James' book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, is a must-have. James shares his true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. Get the new audio version of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James Cooley on Amazon.com or wherever audiobooks are sold.
We are not a charity. We are veterans. We are warriors, brothers, and sisters. We don't need, we deliver. OpsForVets.com. Handshakes, not handouts.
I'm Albert Rencheria, Marine Chief Warrant Officer 4 retired, Ops for Vets CEO. I invite you to take a look at our organization. You'll quickly understand why out of thousands of groups currently serving our veterans, we have become the most rapidly growing and opportunity-rich team in the market. We have deployed dynamic distributors who are responsible for servicing and growing their regions, East, Central, and West. We provide a complete roster of high-caliber services, produced to create the results you require. Find us on the web at www.opsforvets.com. Handshakes, not handouts.
Hello. Hey, I'm James Cooley. I am the founder and CEO of the J.C. Cooley Foundation, Options, Opportunities, the Choice Program. Our primary mission is to help build a foundation of our youth and young adults and communities. And we encourage everyone to dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. And the way that you do that is, first of all, you got to believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. You have to know that you are here for a purpose. You also have to be able to step out your comfort zone and do things that you probably didn't think that you can do. Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I'm just, yeah, I need at least 2 hours to do this show. Everything he's saying is so wonderful, and it's we need to take heed for that, because that's how you become a great leader. You have to understand the foundation, the building blocks, and you have to be able to be personable with the people that you're leading. They have to be able to trust you. They have to be able to come to you, be able to say what they think that might be able to make them better, but get your suggestions. So, hey, Mike, we got Tim just standing by to want to ask you a question. So let's get Tim over here right now.
George, look at that.
Hey, how you doing? Hey, I'll got you guys in a minute. I'm just finishing this. Let's see. I'm writing Nasty SHB. Let me finish this and I'll join you. Leave it to the Admiral and not bring his own book. So here I am helping him out. Oh man, it's good. It's good to be with you guys. I mean, I've read Mike's earlier, but Mike, I just finished reading James's book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet. And I was magic. I knew putting you guys together because commonality and, your paths through the Navy and then your paths into Big Iron past the Navy, one going to Boeing and one going to Lockheed. But I really don't have any questions to ask. I've known Mike for so long, but I can tell you one thing. One of the things that I absolutely admire the most about Mike is when he says, he's authentic and he's vulnerable, and you don't pin on respect with a rate or a rank or a title. Mike's always been, 40 some odd years ago. How long's it been? 75? I can't do the math.
Yeah.
But
1975.
Longer than I've been married to my wife. If Mike and I were in a relationship, and I looked at the anniversary guide, I think for the number of years we have, which is like, if I'm not mistaken, 48, it's eyeglasses, which seems kind of appropriate because I'm certainly losing my vision. But he's always been the same guy, in a suit. And I wonder, Mike, if you didn't give the audience a little bit of a, peek behind the curtain on the next book, Admiral in a Suit.
Yeah, I'm planning that with you, Tim. That's what I'm trying to do is learn.
Yeah, you got
to do that. And
I'm just your wingman. I just, I bring the book, I show the book, read the book.
Well, you're in the book, Tim. You're in the book.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, I didn't really want to go there, but since Mike did, there's a lot of nuggets in here. But I got to tell you what, man, I'm even more humble now because there's really nuggets of brilliance on 283 and 284, bottom of 283, top of 284. And you know what I realized today when Mike was talking about editors? There's only 285 pages in the book, so I made it by the skin of my teeth. But yeah, I'm in the book, and I told Mike,
think positive. You weren't edited out.
Exactly.
Come on.
Attitude of gratitude, buddy. I'm there.
Hey, I love having Tim here. We do have. In fact, I have known Tim longer than my wife. I met Tim and my wife in the same place, Mission Viejo High School, 1975, and I met Kelly in just a little bit later as I dropped in as a Marine Corps brat at Mission Viejo in 1975, and Tim and I led the student government for a year and a half, 2 years. Tim was the boss, and I was the second in command, and I did everything Tim wanted me to do, and we were great partners. And the fun story, I'll tell you a fun story. I'm going to say something, JC, that you brought up a second ago, because I want to put this into the mix here, because Tim has led through adversity and environmental things at JC, as have you. And I loved your book being advertised, and I was squinting at the words on the back as the thing was on the advertisement. And yes, sir. I mean, the journeys and the three pictures here are remarkably similar. But Tim and I have a metaphor that, it's a wonderful life with George and Harry Bailey. So Harry Bailey, the fighter pilot, I'm Harry. Okay, it's a wonderful life. Christmas time. Watch that movie. I'm Harry Bailey. I leave and go fly. I don't do the Bailey savings and loan. Tim is George. He has the dreams to go out into the world, and he's got all the brochures, and he's dragged back to town, to home. He's forced to stay, and so Tim is George Bailey, saving the Bailey savings and loan for all the people around him. So we have this metaphor that's lasted since high school, right? Because we used to watch that movie together, and we still own that. We call each other Harry and George. But here's the thing I wanted to tell you about, JC, that you started to bring up. As you move through environments, you lead better. Adversity makes you a better leader. Couple of points. The first one is there's two ways you can think about a day. Either bad day, I'm going to be down, or good day, I'm going to be up. So there's only two ways. You may as well be up. And with my experience, and for those of us who have gone through adversity and huge adversity, as people can talk about, if you succumb to that adversity and just go fold up, you're not going to be an effective leader. And when you lead people through environments that have adversity in them, you have to project confidence because they're fearful and they're looking to you. Your family's looking to you as a father to make the right decision and get them out of danger, whether it's psychological danger or whether it's actual physical danger. You got to lead through the environment. That environment will help you grow confidence, and it instills trust in you as a leader. Trust in yourself is exposing yourself to that uncomfortable situation. We talked about changing yourself all the way through. Get uncomfortable. Learn something new. When you are a leader and you're influencing people, whether it's a family or a mentorship with a young person like you do, JC, go this way. It's going to be okay. And I'm there with you. When you're leading a team and it's in the military and things aren't going so good right now, and maybe you're either facing somebody trying to kill you, or maybe there's an environmental thing like a storm, like a typhoon you got to get through. Hey, we're fine here. You call this a storm? Come on. You give that confidence to people that, hey, I'm going with him because I'm going to be safe.
And that's what it's all about. We're down
That's
to the
what
last minute. Mike, if you have time in your schedule, again, I would love to have you back on.
Okay.
It's just so brilliant. Tim, my friend, hey, thank you so much for making this happen.
My pleasure to be with both you guys. I'm already.
So I want to thank Mike for taking the time to come on. Tim, thank you. Most importantly, I'd like to thank Dr. Michelle Cooley for putting together another absolutely fantastic show. And I got to give love to my audience. And I want to leave the audience just like my favorite saying, always, always, always dream big, think big, and be big at everything that you do. We'll be back tomorrow. Same time, same place. It's your life, and we'll see you then.